B'Shem Hashem Naaseh V'Nasiach. We continue with the limud of Kolel Chasot. Right, tonight is Rosh Chodesh Iyar of Tav, Shiv, Shin, Pe, Gimel, Abal Tova. So, there is a very interesting question that came to my mind the other day. And the question is, the Kohanim consumed a lot of meat. We're doing the parshiot of Sefer Vayikra, and in Sefer Vayikra in the Chumash, it explains about the laws of korbanot, sacrifices. And as we know, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave the position of Kohanim to Aaron HaKohen and his sons, and from that, the Shevet of Levi that Aaron HaKohen is from, they were appointed to bring the korbanot, the sacrifices. And many korbanot were given to the Kohanim, and Kohanim enjoyed. Rav Aviad, you living?
Yeah.
I have something for you.
What?
Now I want to do it the Sechir Yom. So, this.
Thank you so much.
So, our Chachamim teach us that the Kohanim had all these sacrifices. A lot of meat, they ate a lot of meat. Right? There was Korban Khatat, there was Korban Shelamim, Korban Todah. They got sections of the Korbanot. And wouldn't they become sick? Chas v'shalom, illnesses would come out of all this meat that they consumed, they ate, right? Obviously, in the beginning, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when created the whole universe, it was not supposed for mankind to eat meat. Originally, they were all vegetarian, right? Mankind were a vegetarian. Till Noah, the time of Noah, that the nature of mankind became different, and they became weak, and they were allowed to have meat in order to make up for that which they needed. But we see there that even that meat is limited to be consumed. Too much meat is not healthy. So the Kohanim did not suffer any sickness. So there is very interesting Mishnah in Masachet Shakalim. In Masachet Shakalim of Perek Chamishi of the 5th chapter, Mishnah Aleph talks about all the different positions, all the different officials who had different positions in Beit Hamikdash, in the temple. And over there explains, Elu hen hamemunim shahayu b'mikdash. These are the officials who were appointed for the Beit Hamikdash. Yochanan ben Pinchas al hachotamot. Yochanan, the son of Pinchas, he was appointed on the seals, right? That one who paid for a specific type of sacrifice item received a seal. So they would get some sort of a seal that this meant for them, that they could go pick up that sacrifice in exchange for the item. So they would go to him, and they would pay for the sacrifice they needed. They needed egel, or they needed a ram, they needed goat or sheep. They would go pay him, and they would pick up. Not everyone brought their own sacrifice, so they had to purchase. So he had that position. Then the list goes on. Achia was responsible for libation. What was libation? The wine and the oil and the flour prepared with the level of a ritual purity necessary for libation offerings. That there were libation offerings, that the wine would be poured onto Mizbeach, right? Or they were flowers and oil that were used. So they would go and obtain it from him. He was responsible. Mattia ben Shemuel was responsible for lotteries, right? What was the lotteries for? That based on lotteries, they would choose which group of Kohanim would serve in Beit Hamikdash and when they would serve. So the lottery was used for that. Petaya was responsible for the purrs, right? The purrs of birds. For example, the tethered doves or the pigeons that were brought by a Zab or a Zaba, those individuals who had impurities, or a woman and after childbirth that had to bring a bird offering, right? He was responsible with a bird or a leper, right? They placed the appropriate sum of money into the horn designated for this purpose, and each day Petaya would see the purchase of the birds. He was responsible for this purchase and the money that was given for the sacrifice. Right? Now Gemara explains, right? Petaya is Mordechai. Petaya is really interesting. In the Petaya that was responsible for the birds, he was the Mordechai of the famous Mordechai of Esther and Mordechai. Right? He got that position in Beit HaMikdash.
He was the bird of Mordechai. Esther?
Not the bird. No, he was in charge of selling the birds.
Oh, to Mordechai.
Not to Mordechai. No, Petaya was the same individual as Mordechai. His other name, maybe his nickname was.
He was Mordechai, or he was like a Gilgul of Mordechai.
He was Mordechai. No, it says he was Mordechai.
Wow. Oh, okay.
He was Mordechai at some point before the destruction. Maybe before or maybe after, Mordechai served in Beit HaMikdash. Right? Mordechai did services in Beit HaMikdash. Right? And why? So the Mishnah says.
He was a Kohen? I'm sorry. Mordechai was a Kohen?
No. This didn't need to be a Kohen.
Okay.
This position didn't need to be Kohen. We're not talking about a Kohen over here. We're getting there. So we're gonna get to the position of a doctor. Who was doctor in Beit HaMikdash. Right? So Petaya was Mordechai, and he did. The Mishnah says why Petaya was called Petaya. Right? The reason is because he would open, right, the difficult topics and interpret them. Petaya comes from the word of Poteach. Poteach et yadecha u'masper lecha chayrason. Mordechai was so clever, he was so knowledgeable that he could solve any difficulty. That's why he had this nickname of Petaya. Right? He would open and explain different topics. And because he knew 70 languages, right, he was called Petaya. Now, there was another official called Ben Achia. Right? So the Mishnah in the Perech Chamishi of Shegalim, Mishnah Aleph, teaches us that Ben Petaya al Chulei Ma'ayin, that he was in charge, right, of doctors of intestinal disease. Right? He was the doctor of the stomach.
Or Petaya, which is more.
Not Petaya, no. Ben Achia. Yeah. Ben Achia was the doctor for intestinal disease. Right. So this comes to tell us that in Beit Hamikdash there was a exclusive position of doctor of this disease of
Intestinal
disease. Now, who would go to this doctor? Not Israel, not the Levi, the Kohanim. They had
meat.
because they ate too much meat. So my question was, they would eat so much meat, they would not become sick, right? And even better, why HaKadosh Baruch Hu would not make a miracle that no Kohen would become sick?
Right. Yeah. Why
So
not?
our rabbis teach us because the Kohanim, right, had to go to a doctor. That this way they would teach us the big important mitzvah of watching your health. Right? That it says in the Torah, "V'nishmatechem v'nafshetechem me'od," that watch your health very much. It's the only mitzvah in the Torah that says very much. Be careful of. It says me'od. The word me'od means very much. So perhaps the reason that Hashem did not heal all the Kohanim and there was intestinal sicknesses was because Hashem wanted to teach us. You need to watch your health, not only in Beit HaMikdash, even if you work in Beit HaMikdash, even if you're having the meat of sacrifices and you're doing mitzvot, our rabbis teach us, ha'oseh mitzvah lo yadal davar ra'a. That the person who does mitzvah, he doesn't know anything bad. Right? Hashem protects him. The Kohanim, they're doing mitzvot. Nevertheless, they were not protected from these intestinal disease to teach us a lesson. That even them had to be careful about their health. They had to seek a doctor. They had to go see a doctor. How much more so we need to make sure that we are healthy, that we go to a proper God-fearing doctor, a doctor who loves healing you, who wants you to be healthy, who tells you what to do to prevent disease. Not some doctors that unfortunately they are not real doctors and they make it as a business, right? That they are there to visit the patients and to bring them on and time and time again to charge the insurance or to charge them, right? We're not talking about those doctors. They are not doctors. They are businessmen. We're talking about the person who has love of healing others. So you need to go make sure that doctor checks you up, right? Whenever it's recommended, to make sure that you're healthy, right? And he tells you what to eat, what not to eat. You need to listen, and you need to continue making sure that you maintain, right? That you are healthy. Your body gets all the vitamins that it needs, everything that you need to.
And exercise.
You need to do the proper exercise. Not just to build the muscles like the Greeks, no. To walk or to run or whatever you need to stay healthy. To make sure not to eat food that gives you cholesterol, too much sugar, too much salt, too much
white
flowers or whatever that makes your immune system weak. So we learn from here, this is the chidush that B'siyata Dishmaya came up with. If in Beit HaMikdash the Kohanim had to seek doctor, how much more so we need to seek medical advice to make sure that we are healthy. Because after all, our body doesn't belong to us. Our body belongs to Hashem. Hashem gave it to us to use it for 120 years, hopefully. And we need to return it complete. We need to return it in the best shape possible. So Be'ezrat Hashem HaKadosh Baruch Hu help us that we learn this lesson from this wonderful Mishnah in Shagalim, that there was a doctor in Beit Hamikdash serving the Kohanim to teach us that we need to also be healthy. We need to make sure that we're healthy. Right? Baruch Adonai Leolam. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much for joining the
Thank you,
program.
Rabbi. I want you to know I enjoyed it very much. Very, very, very much.
Thank
And
you
I
so
found it very interesting.
Yes, B'ezras Hashem, we continue next month.
B'ezras Hashem.
خیلی خوب.